Hi folks, I'm Richard Friedman and welcome to my political cartoon countdown for June 12th, 2021. I want to welcome you folks here today and tell you a little bit about myself. I've been doing political cartoons for a few years now, and it started off with the Donald J. Trump presidency in 2016, going from 2016, a series of books, and the 2020, and now I'm doing political cartoons. My next book will be the greatest political cartoon, the greatest political cartoon book for 2021, and that'll be coming out pretty soon now, the end of June. So that'll be like 6 months. So I'll tell you about that, and I'd also like to tell you about my website, which is Richard's Books, no apostrophe S, just long Richard's Books, no spaces, Richard's Books of politicalcartoons.com. And if you want to see those are all my books there that have already been completed, and you can see all the samples. It's like I always say, it's a political trip through Disney World. You know, you get to see the highlights of my books, and it's a nice trip. You know, and it's there's no you don't have to put your hands in your pocket to pay anything for it. So again, that's Richard's, no apostrophe S, Richard's Books at politicalcartoons.com for all my books. And if you'd like to see my current cartoons, all you have to do is go to Twitter. It's Bronx Cartoonist, handle RJF Cartoon. Bronx, that's where I'm from the Bronx. And I always like to reflect on that sometimes. And I had a lot of wild times there growing up in the Bronx. You know, those winters were a lot of cold weather, a lot of snowball fights, and going up to Yankee Stadium, and thinking of and going to those baseball games and getting autographs of Mickey Mantle, and just it was a lot of good times in the Bronx. And I lived on my first 9 years of my life were on Nelson Avenue, right perpendicular to University Avenue, or Edward Grant Highway, as it's also called. And I used to ride my bike there, and I remember the day that I got my first two-wheeler, and they hooked up the training wheels, and I was using a tricycle, you see, and it had no brakes. So I was going down a hill, and all of a sudden, nobody told me how to work the brakes. So they kept saying, push back, push back. And I was rolling down the hill, and boom, I said to myself, well, that don't make no sense to me, because I never had to push back on all those tricycles. And boom, a car just stopped there, a yellow car, big one of those real big steel cars from the 50s. I think it was a Chrysler DeSoto. And he just happened to be stopped protruding, and I went down the hill, and I crashed into the car instead of going out into Edward Grant Highway and getting killed. That was a better option, you know, a lucky thing for me. The guy said, I remember he said he stopped for some cigarettes into a candy store that was on the corner there. Saved my life probably, because I would have gone right out into the Edward Grant Highway with all those cars coming down, you know. So I was pretty lucky that day. And so that's just a story I remember. The Bronx was very hilly. Everywhere you went, there were hills all over the place, you know. So anyway, getting back here, I want to just introduce you to, this is my current book here. This is my current book, and it's got the whole year of 2020 in it. This is all of 2020, featuring issues of the Donald J. Trump presidency in cartoons. You can see here. I even got Abbott and Costello in on something here. There's Abbott and Costello. And let's see. There's some of our Republican leaders there. There's Chuck Schumer here. This is Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, and Grassley. Chuck Grassley here, who's recently made some comments, which we'll get to next week. And here, Lindsey Graham. See, I've covered the bases here for 2020, and it's a good book. And here's President Trump as a doctor going to a patient's side. Dr. Trump. you know. Okay. There's Nixon doing a tweet. Nixon tweets. Okay. Flashing back to my other book, this is the greatest 2019 book of political cartoons from obviously 2019, and this went from, the edition 1 went from January to June. So in 2021, there'll be an edition 1 and edition 2, just like I had done in 2019. So here is cartoon. It's very, I thought it was very interesting that it goes back just actually to June 14th. So that's almost today's June 12th. So this is June 14th, 2019. It's a cartoon from the book that I did just 2 years ago. Here it is. There's the White House. There's Department of Justice, and here's former President Trump with a bulldozer. He's using a bulldozer to lift up the Justice Department and move it over right next to the part incorporated into the White House. So he takes the bulldozer, lifts it up, and he's taking it to incorporate it as part of the White House. Big construction project there. Okay, and there goes. Trump's next move on Justice Department after it releases legal opinion backing Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin's refusal to release President's tax returns to Congress, June 14th, 2019. And then here you have President Trump saying here, this will be the Justice Wing of the White House. So this is now the Justice Wing of the Trump White House. It goes with the bulldozer. President Trump, bulldozer, Department of Justice, and the White House. There goes. He's going to attach it to the White House. It's going to be like another division, you know, the Justice Wing, of the Trump White House, basically. There we go. There. Okay. 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 So much for the books. I want to now get started here on. Before we get started on the countdown, this is a cartoon, a flashback from May 11th, just about a month ago, and it was very kind of predictive of. I didn't know this was going to be, but this cartoon, I feel, is more relative today than it was when I did it back then a month ago. So I put it up on Twitter, and I'm going to put that to you first, not because it was most popular, but because I thought it was most relevant to what's happening now. So you're here at Mar-a-Lago, former President Trump, and he's watching now Vice President Kamala Harris, then Senator Kamala Harris, and she's questioning Bill Barr here. Okay, so I said this as an introduction. Former President Trump, possibly concerned about recent reports that in the early months of his administration under his Justice Department, headed by Attorney General William Barr, the phone records of reporters were secretly obtained. Now watching video of then Senator Kamala Harris grilling Barr from back in May of 2019. So this is what he's watching the video. They brought this video up, and I did the cartoon on it. This was from May. This here whole thing. This is a video from May of 2019 that former President Trump is watching at Mar-a-Lago. Okay, again, this is going back. Okay, Okay. So here is Senator Kamala Harris. There she is. Her first. Attorney General Barr, has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone, yes or no? And here's Barr, former Attorney General Barr. At the time, his response. I am trying to grapple with suggest. There have been discussions. Nobody asked for opening any investigations. And then Kamala Harris, she retorts. Perhaps they hinted or inferred. And then he says, I don't know. I don't know. So then here's President Trump, his response. Barr, you are a big fat disappointment. Why didn't you say I don't know to her first question? Because all he had to do is say I don't know. When she says yes or no, all he had to do is say I can't answer yes or no because I don't know. But instead, he went on with that he was trying to grapple or suggest, like it was an indigestion problem, like it was some kind, like Kamala Harris fed him a pepperoni pizza with too much bell pepper in it, or something like that. And it was just it gave him insuggestion. It was more like insuggestion. Instead of digestion, it was more like insuggestion that Attorney General Barr was suffering from that question that Kamala Harris, that then at the time Senator Kamala Harris, now Vice President Kamala Harris, asked him. Okay, so I am trying to grapple with suggest. It's that again. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, so here's the Barr, you are a big fat disappointment. Why didn't you say I don't know to her first question? Saying you are grappling with suggestion is like Kamala Harris fed you too many pepperoni pizzas with too much bell pepper. So I have to say this, former Attorney General Barr always has a way of saying I don't know, in a very, very skilled way. It's like he was captured by one of those unidentified flying objects, and they held them in one of those flying saucers or whatever it was, and he was held there for a while, and it put out of space. And he goes, well, I don't remember, I don't know. It's just like the UFO type of situation, where everybody's saying, I don't know, we don't know what it is. Then the Air Force, the high general, we don't know. We don't know. It does things, but we don't know what that UFO is what the mechanisms are that are enabling this UFO to perform these things in the air that even we can't do in our own planes. But again, we don't know. We just don't know. So that's Barr is like a UFO type of such situation where he was like up there in outer space, floating around one of those vehicles, and they threw a space ray at him, and he's like a little groggy from the space ray, and he just don't know. So anyway, that's that one. So here we go to the countdown here. Okay. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is numero cuatro, number 4. We're working our way up to number 1 of the week on Twitter. Okay. So here is Representative Adam Smith, right here. And here we have former president watching him. We have Bill Barr, and we have an image that President Trump is thinking about on his last day in the Oval Office. Not the last day, the last time that his former Attorney General Bill Barr was with him in the Oval Office before he resigned or whatever. Okay, So here we go. Former President Donald Trump thinks back to his last White House Oval Office meeting with his former Attorney General William Barr, amid watching Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat, California, alleging Barr told his investigators to keep going in the face of no evidence against Intelligence Committee Democrats. So they launched here a pretty well a Dragnet. You know, remember that TV show Dragnet? It was Friday, or this was a Dragnet operation. They went after all the phone numbers, some children, and everything. They really did a blanket investigation, a Dragnet thing, you know. Dun 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 when they Dragnet used to come on, you know, that music background. So I remember that show, you know. So anyway, on Friday and 10:28, got up in the morning, I shaved, went out there, and little did I know what was waiting for me out that street, you know. I think his name was Sergeant Friday, you know, if I remember correctly, from that TV show, Dragnet. Anyway, this was a Dragnet. So anyway, Barr told his investigators to keep going in the face of no evidence. So they were investigating the people that were on this investigating committee, Intelligence Committee, the Democrats. They only went after Democrats who were on the Intelligence Committee, who were investigating the situation here involving President Trump. And so they, so that was all, they were targeted, basically. They didn't go after Republicans on that committee. They went after Democrats. So, you know, anyway, so possibly thinking, so here he is watching this, and he's thinking about Barr back the last day of Barr in his Oval Office with Barr, and he thinks about it, possibly, I said possibly, why couldn't Barr also keep going with my voter fraud investigation to stop the steal? So Barr, as soon as there was no evidence, he cut that investigation. He went to the people and he says, we have no evidence that was any voter fraud took place that would change the election. He made that statement. So he didn't come out here and he kept on going. He didn't say we have no evidence that any of these Democrats did anything wrong. We're going to stop the investigation. He kept on going. So Trump could have gotten pissed off at him and thought back to this time when he was in the Oval Office about that investigation, which in former President Trump's perception, Barr dropped the ball because he didn't keep advancing, and he came out with that statement. So here he is. Here's how it might have gone, thinking about that exchange. So here he goes. Here's Barr, former President Trump in the Oval. This is what former President Trump is thinking as he's watching Adam Schiff here, talking about what happened here and his reaction to it. So here he goes. Here's former President Trump saying to Barr, Barr, out this F door. And then Barr retorts back. He knows he's through now. He says, Mr. President, can I have a last farewell White House lobster dinner? I know, I think I read somewhere that Barr likes seafood. So if he likes seafood, he must love lobster. So I put the two and two together, and then I came up with a lobster dinner, last lobster dinner for former Attorney General Bill Barr for not continuing the investigation with the voter fraud, you know. And then here, President Trump retorting back, have a leftover Big Mac from 2 years ago. I'll warm it up. So 2 years ago, former President Trump hosted some football players and honored some athletes. It was general honor of athletes, and he ordered a ton of Big Macs and fries and everything for those people. So that was 2 years ago. So I figured maybe he'd have a Big Mac left over from that football, honoring those football and athletic heroes that he did back 2 years ago at the White House with all tons of Big Macs and Cokes and everything. So I thought maybe he had one left over, and he would just warm it up for Barr. He wouldn't give him any lobster, no shrimp, none of that stuff. But no way. Just the door and a Big Mac out the door. Okay, so that's the story here. There it is. There's Adam Schiff, former President Trump, Barr, and there's former President Trump at the Oval Office in a conference. And there is, I think that's Andrew Jackson on the wall there, taking the whole thing in. There's the door, and I think I meant this to be Adams, a picture of Adams, one of our first presidents, one of the first. Okay, I think his picture's in the Oval Office also. Okay, so that's it, folks. That was that one. Okay, now here we have Joe Manchin. There he is. There's Joe. As President Trump likes to call him Munchkin, Joe Munchkin, Munchkin, little Munchkin, Wizard of Oz, the Munchkins. So he calls him from Manchin. He went to Munchkin, Maybe Manchin should go, should be in the Wizard of Oz, So anyway, here we go. Here we are. There's Joe. There's the Capitol. And he's staging his own, he has a dream that he's staging his own rally, as an extension of the op-ed. I think he wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, so he really wants to get out there and let the people hear his position. So if he wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, he wants out there. So it's logical that he would dream about having a rally at the Capitol, to get out there, waving the American flag there. There he is. He put that op-ed in the New York Times, and this is what I've done here is a reflection of that op-ed. Read it, and then just kind of synthesized it and took out the points. So you'll get an idea of what he said. Okay, Democrat Senator Joe Manchin dream of a rally in front of the Capitol based on excerpts from his op-ed. Why I'm voting against the For the People Act in the wake of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's statement on blocking the Biden administration agenda. Okay, so Mitch McConnell says that his focus is now on blocking the Biden administration. That's his focus. Amid GOP mounting efforts in Republican-controlled state legislatures to restrict ballot access. Okay, so here is Mitch McConnell. I always called him, used to call him Sing Along with Mitch. Sing Along Mitch. After a show, Sing Along with Mitch, I called him Sing Along Mitch because he always sang along with former President Trump. And here he is on the top of the Capitol. I am 100% focused on stopping Biden's new administration. And then here is Joe Manchin. This is basically what he said in his op-ed. This applied to his rally, the dream rally that he had here in front of the Capitol. My fellow Americans, I am voting against the For the People Act because the right to vote is fundamental to our American democracy. Sounds like some kind of an oxymoron, if there ever was one, an extended oxymoron, to our American democracy, and protecting that right even in the above challenge. That means Mitch McConnell over there can never be done in a challenging it in the above challenge can never be done in a partisan manner. So he doesn't want to stand up to McConnell in a partisan manner, and that's why he's going along with him to restrict voting rights. Basically, he's going to stick to that no filibuster, even to use it to preserve the democracy. He's seeing the filibuster as working against democracy, because the fact is, even if the people can't vote and nobody can vote, and people and a very small minority determine the leaders of our country, which is what the inevitable progression would be, a small minority. The opposite of democracy, you have an oligarchy with a few privileged people ruling. It's like the tail wagging the dog. You have a few privileged people who run the country based upon the fact that other people just get fed up with not being able to vote for all the technicalities involved and the times and everything like that. So they say, hell with it, So then you have what Manchin is saying here is that more important than trying to block that from happening is keeping the filibuster, because the filibuster is the foundation of our democracy, because this way no one party could take advantage of the other party, you see, because of the filibuster. So that's what he's basically saying here, It's like I always say, it's like that lady on the Titanic who just doesn't want to give up her main coat and doesn't want to get cold. It's too cold out there, and I'm not going to take my mink coat out and get in that dirty boat. I'm staying right here where it's nice and warm on the Titanic. That's what it's like, nice and warm on the Titanic, you know. Out there, it's so cold out there, and that water and everything. How am I going? This boat is unsinkable. Our democracy is unsinkable. That's what Manchin is saying. We have an unsinkable democracy. We don't have to worry about the Titanic sinking, you know. All right, that's it, you know. Okay, so anyway, needless to say, Manchin is no Molly Brown. Okay, if you remember that, the story of Molly Brown on the Titanic. All right, okay, so that's it. So Republican leader standing on top of our Capitol here, and that's that. So he would not challenge him. The only way to challenge Mitch McConnell, if he's talking that way, is to implement the filibuster, is to do away with the filibuster, to just knock it out of the ballpark, and do what we have to do to preserve democracy. But Manchin sees the filibuster as preserving democracy, the mink coat, you know, and the warmth of the Titanic side. That filibuster is nice and warm and cozy. You can hear with that filibuster, all that heat, you know. All right, enough of that. Okay, now here is Representative Louis Gomer from Texas Republican, you know. And Louis, I'm sure, is very concerned about, I should say, Representative Louis Gomer, Republican Texas. I don't know him, so I shouldn't call him by his first name. So I'm going to say Representative Louis Gomer, Republican Texas, is concerned about the fact of global warming, but he doesn't want to do anything about it here on Earth. He wants to do it upstairs, and we could get the orbits of the Earth, alter the orbit of the Earth. So the fact of the matter is, we won't have to make, because you know Texas is a big oil state, and that's where he's from. So the fact of the matter is, we won't have to do any changes, and we could keep going with our gasoline cars. We don't need electric cars, and we can still pump that oil and that fossil fuel, because we don't have no problem with global warming, because we're going to shift the orbit of the Earth away from the sun. And he went to these people because he heard about the natural effects that the Earth was being, basically the Earth orbit around the sun was all being altered, and also the moon's orbit around the Earth was also being altered. So he put two and two together and came up with 20. You know, and two and two together makes 20. And he said, well, if that's true, then we could probably do something to speed that up. You know, that's basically what he said. So yeah, I mean, I ain't making this up, folks. This is it. Okay, Representative Louis Gomer turns rocket science. Okay, he turns rocket scientist after a past director of NASA had once told him that orbits of the moon and the Earth were changing, reportedly asking if federal agencies can change the Earth's orbit to fight climate change, saying, obviously, that would have profound effects on our climate. It would if we could do that, if we could somehow change the orbit of the Earth and make it farther away from the sun. We wouldn't have we would negate the global warming. You know. I mean, Moses in 10 Commandments, he parted the seas. We need another Moses come back here and shift the Earth orbit around the sun. So we're going to need another Moses to do that one, you know. Part of the Red Sea. Well, that's what we need now, is we need a Moses to do that. Okay, because he's feeling that we could do it technologically. Okay, so I went along with him on this one, and I wrote a scenario where he would probably recommend such a thing, and that's why I said turns rocket scientists using our these rockets here, these big rockets, Saturn V rockets with a very heavy, big things. They haven't used them. There's only 2 left that are operational, and one is in a museum somewhere. So we want to use, if we tap into those 2 that are still operational, those are big, huge Saturn rockets from years ago. They don't use them anymore, but if we bring them back, they're huge and powerful enough, maybe they could do it, you know? So anyway, that's what he's saying. Well, if you figure it out, so he's saying to them, further saying, this is quote, this is quote, well, if you figure out a way that you can make that change of the orbits, I'd like to know. So having gotten no commitment, because they said to him basically, we'll get back to you on that one. That's what they said, we'll get back to you on that one. They don't want to offend the senator. So we'll get back to you on that one, you know. So anyway, so she says, okay, Oh, I'd like to know. Well, we'll get back to you on that one. Gomer's conceivable, having gotten no commitment, he didn't get any commitment, obviously, from that. Gomer's conceivable 9.99 Saturn V rocket plan. So this is his rocket plan here. There's the sun, and there's the Saturn rockets blasting off from the Earth, and with the exhaust of the rockets shifting the orbit of the Earth away from the sun. So you have these two remaining Saturn rockets fired from the Earth, and all of a sudden they stay there stationary. They stop, finally want to stop, and push their exhaust pushes the Earth away, its orbit away from the sun. You see? So here you have the sun, and then the Earth's going away. You know, there it goes. There goes the Earth away from the sun. From the exhaust of the two Saturn V rockets. The sun, the rockets, there's the Earth, see? There's Earth, two Saturn V rockets, and the sun. Okay? Okay, so here goes. My 99 point, so it comes up with a 9.99 plan. My 9.99 rocket plan is to use the two remaining Saturn V rockets to blast the orbit of Earth, or the orbit of Earth around the sun significantly further away from the sun. My calculations are, as a result of this change, average Earth temperatures will drop 9.99 degrees. So he's going to do that. He has it all figured out in pencil on his computer and everything, that the average temperature will drop 9.99 degrees. We'll still be able to use fossil fuels, and no worry, and we don't have to push those electric cars so hard. People in the Texas oil companies can keep, pumping that oil. Everybody's going to be happy now. Colder temperature. Who knows? It might even snow in Florida from that. It might even be, who knows? So I know what's going to happen out there in Alaska. But anyway, that's it. Okay. Now here's numero uno de la semana. Okay. Now here we have President Joe Biden, and we have former President Barack Obama orbiting. They are up. This is a conspiracy theory that has come about, that the Italians are using satellites during the election, the 2020 election. The Italians used satellites to basically from outer space satellites to the Italian government did this, and they did it through remote control from outer space to change the election votes that were voted for former President Trump to Biden. The votes were changed on the basis of an Italian satellite that revolved, that stayed over the United States for a period of time. It was going around. It just stopped when it got over the United States. Here's a satellite, you see, and they implicated former President Obama on the conspiracy that he conspired with the then former leader of Italy, and they were the ones who, President Obama was not mentioned in it, but I put him along for the ride. He went along for the ride here. He's just there as a passenger for the ride. He had nothing to do with, they never implicated him in that, that he was involved in the Saturn, involved in the Italian satellite. He was never implicated in this Italian satellite that was changing votes against former President Trump to President Obama. That all those votes that were changed so that Joe Biden can become president, and then the votes that were for Trump went to Biden. That was it, from these Italian satellites. So Biden is here just for the ride, and they implicated Obama in on the conspiracy with the Italian government to accomplish this. So this is a Maserati that I drew orbiting staying over the United States, and this is the rays coming down all over the voting, attacking all the voting machines in the country. You see, this is it. You see, these are like bugs coming down, and this is manipulating all the computers throughout the United States from this orbiting satellite. And they got a robot that's driving the satellite. There's a robot on his hands on the steering wheel. It's driving the satellite. It's called Biden-Obama satellite. Okay? There they are. Maserati satellite, Maserati Italian satellite. You know, I put that in because it's a recognizable name for an Italian car. Not to imply that Maserati was in any way involved in this. No, it's just that I just picked that out. I picked the name out because it's a well-known Italian car. I'm not implying Maserati didn't have anything to do with it. Anybody could buy a Maserati, put a sign up, make a satellite, and call it a Maserati. So there you have that. Okay, so there's the United States, and there is the satellite, the Maserati satellite. Let's call it, leave out the car, call it the Maserati satellite. Okay, there it goes. There it is. Up there, leaving out the rays, attacking the voting machines of the United States. Okay, so here it is. Emails reportedly disclosed White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows pushed Donald Trump's former acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen. This was after Barr left. Jeffrey Rosen took over as acting Attorney General for him, to discredit the election results by investigating a conspiracy theory that former President Obama, with help from the former Italian Prime Minister and the CIA, they put the CIA into this, used Italian satellites to make U.S. voting machines switch votes from Trump to Biden below the conceived Biden-Obama Maserati steel election satellite. Okay, so this is a steel election satellite up there, kind of configured as a Maserati car. Mainly, it's just a satellite having nothing to do with Maserati being in the conspiracy. There they go. They're working there. They're working, changing those votes, boy. They're working there, changing those votes. And there goes down those rays on the United States. All right, folks, I want to thank you very much for watching my political cartoon countdown this afternoon or whenever you're watching this. And I wish you all the best. And we're doing pretty good with that virus. I hope to see you again for my next political cartoon countdown. And until then, you take care of yourselves and be well and enjoy this burst of newfound freedom that we have away from the virus, which is a great thing. And for those of you who haven't taken the shot, the 2 shots or whatever it is, or 1 shot with Johnson & Johnson, whatever it is, anything is better than nothing, And I say to you, consider. I don't tell anybody what to do. I just say, think about it, consider it, because you're not helping yourself, you're helping the country heal. So with that, I want to say to you, God bless you all, and God bless America. Take care, folks. See you next time. Bye.